strike up here just to the northeast. This is going to keep bouncing around like a game of Pong. The pressure has nowhere to go. Look where the south tip of the ridge ends. The pressure's just going to go down and come back. It has nowhere to go. It's not releasing. So we have deep earthquakes to the north. What's our deep earthquake to the north? Oh, I don't know, a deep 5.9. Well, doesn't that mean there's a shallow 6.9 to 7.9 or a large swarm coming somewhere near North New Zealand or maybe a few hundred miles north of New Zealand? Yes, the potential is there for a large earthquake. But since we're looking for pressure to transfer to the west, the chances of the larger earthquake, again the 6.9 to 7.9, would be to strike to the west because pressure transfers to the west. And so North New Zealand would be struck by one of those, more like what we're seeing up in Japan, more in the 6 range. So, low 6 in the next, and let's put a 3 to 4 day time limit on that, just because all the other deep earthquakes that are happening might be switching things up a little bit, taking that time to get there. But let's look for a 6. Let's look for a 6 to 6.2 to strike north of New Zealand. Very small little area actually here. Let's turn this down so you can really see it. When I say north of New Zealand, we have the north tip of the island here, and we talk about maybe 150 to 200 miles space here off the northeast tip, and I call this the catcher's mitt position, where it seems to catch and release over and over again. Now, if I'm just a little bit off, it would strike over here back at our megaquake location. That I shouldn't call it a megaquake. Our very large earthquake location that happened a couple months ago, the 7.1 that struck here, pretty much where the 2.9 is. So, what does it mean? North New Zealand's about to see an increase like the rest of the whole Pacific.
A quake occurring over 400 miles away from where it was predicted to hit cannot be called a hit, not by anybody's standards. This earthquake was felt throughout the whole of New Zealand, with 15,840 people reporting having felt it. It was a very significant earthquake.
On the South Island, main island of New Zealand. Now I was off by magnitude, and off by 200 miles. Last night I issued a warning for right here, right off the northeast tip of the island, and instead the southern island was hit. I'm sorry, guys. I can't get it all, but guys, the largest earthquake to strike New Zealand.
Dutch, you weren't a couple of hundred miles out. You were over 400 miles out. That's a very big difference.
Occurred. In case you guys are new here or you didn't pay attention over the past couple days, the reason we saw a major earthquake strike just now in New Zealand, we had a series of very deep earthquakes that happened over the past several days down at 400 to 600 kilometers deep. Now, we issued warnings for the past 2 days, telling everybody we are going to see a very large earthquake strike in the middle of our silent zones, and we have multiple silent zones, not just one. So, here we are. Now a 7.8 is hit. Multiple other larger earthquakes have hit since then, but those are aftershocks, guys. So, what do we have to say? The reason a 7.8 struck is because a deep 5.9 struck yesterday. Okay, so we had a deep 5.9 followed by a shallow 7.9, 7.8.
A word of warning here. If anybody thinks they're going to be extorting money out of us because we have shown this table here, they are sadly mistaken. It's not going to happen. We won't be paying any money. Don't even bother trying.
Right? This is earthquake country. Everybody up here has an earthquake plan. They all know to expect big earthquakes every week. Right? Wrong. We don't hardly ever see big earthquakes up here, but when we do, they're big. And we're going to warn the area right here next to Mount Bogoslav. Why Mount Bogoslav? Well, Mount Bogoslav, right up here on the central Aleutian Island chain, is like a fulcrum point on its own between all these volcanoes erupting on this side and all the lack of eruptions on this side. There were 8 just a couple days ago erupting over here. Now we've got 8 erupting over here. What do you think that's going to be doing to the middle point at the north? It's going to be putting it under pressure. And we're going to look for a release, and the release should be seismic instead of volcanic. Now, I hope I got that right. What if it's volcanic? What if all of a sudden Bogoslav, boom, back on the list with a huge blast or something? Well, if that happens, I'll consider that an earthquake forecast hit. But right now, we're going to put it at a 7. Yeah, well, again, yeah, you heard me, right? A 7. We're going to put it at a 7.0 up here in the Aleutian Island chains right here, or Aleutian Island chain, which is right next to Mount Bogoslav. So I hope I got this right.
As you can see here, the supposed hit was out by over 700 miles. Again, hardly a hit by anybody's standards.
Hello, everybody. It is 10:50 a.m. Central Time on the 23rd of January, 2018. Guys, it's Tuesday going into Wednesday internationally, and we are here to talk about the big player on the planet today. What a day today has been so far. A new near 8.0 earthquake, originally coming in at 8.3, now downgraded to 7.9. Struck this morning at 3:31 a.m. local time, or approximately 9:30 a.m. UTC. And this is significant. Of course, you guys, if you don't know, we don't normally see 8.0 earthquakes up here in Alaska or the coast of Canada. It's a rare event to happen. And on Sunday night, in this week's earthquake forecast, we issued a direct warning for the Aleutian Island chains east of Mount Bogoslav. Here is Mount Bogoslav. And we told everybody to watch for a 7.0 or greater earthquake to be striking here as a result of the volcanic eruptions happening on both sides of the Pacific. What you are. No offense. Just calling you out as it is. And I can do that too. That's the other great thing. I'm not interested in trying to be a proper professor in a classroom with kids. You want to go do it with kids in a classroom and be proper professor? You're going to be repeating Rand information from an old textbook that's incorrect. Hey, Rand, you need to now change all your books. All your books need to be changed. They're going to have to recall all the geology textbooks, and reprint them all, because you got it all wrong. There's so much stuff in the Rand Common Textbook now, and not just Rand, different science books, that is wrong, and it's way wrong, that you're going to have to correct your science books now. And I mean like this year. Because if you're teaching kids this year that there's no relation between earthquakes and they're not progression across plates, the kids are going to go home and turn on the internet, and it's going to conflict with what teacher says. And teachers wrong, and professors wrong, and books wrong, and colleges wrong, and high school's wrong, and Dutchsinse is right. Idiots involved, guys, and the idiots are the ones who are not trying to convince. They're the ones who are taking up for the USGS. So USGS, professionals, you've got a boatload of idiots arguing on your side for your case. That earthquakes are random. I've asked everybody to prove it. I've asked the USGS, prove earthquakes are random like you're saying they are. That they can't be forecast, they're random. Prove they're random. I want to see your proof that earthquakes are random. If you can't prove earthquakes are random, I'm not interested in talking to you. It's just that simple. I proved my case, you're going to need to try to prove yours. If you can prove yours, you can debunk me.